Joining in now to discuss this is M.R. Venkatesh, Chartered Accountant and Corporate Governance Expert and Corporate Lawyer, SP Ranina. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Mr. Venkatesh, let me come to you first on the point of independent directors and the board of Tata Global Beverages backing Tata Sons' move to remove Cyrus Mistry. We saw 7 members of the board voting in favour of his removal, and there has been a very categoric statement coming in from one of them who voted in favour of him staying in the company. Analjit Singh has said that keeping the merits, demerits and performance measures to one side, what is happening today is totally uncharacteristic of the Tata Group. Mr. Ratan Tata, who I have a long-standing relationship with. I want to keep this point in mind, Mr. Venkatesh, and the point that one of the independent directors made on the channel, that the removal had nothing to do with performance, but it was about not having hostility between the largest shareholder of the company and the board of directors. Comment on this point, Mr. Venkatesh.
Now, see, I have been long maintaining that this is not a question of the performance of Mr. Mistry. This is the breakdown of trust. And once the breakdown of trust happens, it is not how much you brought into the table or how much you took out of the table. So there seems to be this particular point on which only the Tatas and Mr. Mistry, and both these camps have been parsimonious with truth. They have been acting in driblets. They have been letting out information selectively. They have been countering the other side's allegations very, very selectively. So we don't have the whole truth, and that's why I've been repeating this from day one. That unless both sides give us the whole fact, it will be like some blind men looking at an elephant and commenting on its shape. We are all doing precisely that. At this point in time, I am inclined to believe, and I will only say this again and again, that it's a no-brainer, that as long as you have the support of the board, as long as you have the confidence of the board, you remain as a chairman. And once the board determines it otherwise, you go out. Now, on this, the independent directors taking position, it is alarming for me that at all places, independent directors have been taking position which are paradoxical, I would say, at times. And at times it is quixotical. But having said that, I must also say in this war, either you are with the Tatas or you are with Cyrus Mistry, you cannot be supinely indifferent. You have to definitely take position. And this will hold true till the time that the government and its agencies, namely LIC and some fund managers and some banks, which hold large chunks of shares, decide and indicate that they are either with the Tatas or with Cyrus Mistry. And unless this is decided, this bloodletting will go on, and I'm sure that is not going to add value to the Tatas.
Mr. Ranina, just to take from the point that Mr. Venkatesh made, over here, in the case of Tata Global Beverages, you have the board supporting what they think is necessary for the group to function, that is, get the larger shareholders on board and can't have hostility with them. But it still is not the case of performance, as Mr. Venkatesh pointed out. Do you not think that we are losing the point over here, that the group companies are thereby ignoring performance and keeping performance as the pure criteria and are now going into specific details as to whose side they could fall on?
No, I entirely agree with you, Kritika, that the independent director should be guided only by the performance of the company. Any other extraneous factor which they take into account, namely the major shareholders, loss of confidence or whatever, that is besides the point. Independent director of a company is supposed to only look at the interests of his own company and look at the performance. And if the performance of the company is good, there's no reason for a change. Because don't forget that it's not just the chairman who is responsible, the entire board is collectively responsible. Under the Companies Act, the chairman is only one among the directors. His main object is to conduct a meeting of the board of directors. He doesn't have any special powers, unlike a managing director who has the powers of substantial management. A chairman has no such powers. He's just one among the other directors. Now, if there is some reason
but Mr. Ranina, what the board says is that they're not looking at the short-term performance or the near-term performance. If you look at the financials, the Tata Global Beverages board has actually seen a consistent growth in performance. So he categorically said that it's not about the performance, it's about the future of the company being in jeopardy. Would you agree with that?
No, but on what ground? On what ground is the future in jeopardy? They must give reasons. You can't just look into the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody is an astrologer. How do you talk about the future? Unless you can show that the present trend is not conducive for future growth. But that is not the case in the case of Tata Global. In fact, they have been consistently showing a good performance. Therefore, that question doesn't arise.
Okay, so the same question to Mr. Venkatesh, and we're very tight on time. So a closing comment, Mr. Venkatesh, same point to you. Do you believe that the future growth of the company with the backing of the promoter is guaranteed versus how things have been in the last few years?
See, if performance is the yardstick, Mr. Mistry should have continued. But again, I repeat, performance has not been the issue. The issue is one, loss of trust. And unfortunately, the corporate governance board is not, the corporate governance model in India is not equipped to deal with this particular aspect. And that is why we are in this imbroglio. At this point in time, I'm sorry to say we don't have a solution. The only solution I see, either Tatas must buy out Mistry or Mistry must buy out Tatas. Else, this group is going to see a halal for days to come.
Yes, I agreed with that point, Mr. Venkatesh. But Mr. H.P. Ranina, Mr. M.R. Venkatesh, appreciate you joining in and giving us the detailed analysis on that bitter boardroom battle. But yes, it will be an interesting turn of events, Surabhi, if we actually see either of them, Tata's buying Mistry out. I mean, that will mean an amicable solution, which seems to be far away.
Well, I think we're some time away from any of that happening, so let's not speculate. But that's all the time that we have on this edition of What's Hot. Many thanks for watching.